Welcome to Talk to Your Mom, a home for conversation where generational knowledge is wealth. I'm your host, Keyaira Kelly, writer, producer, speaker, and advocate for all things woman. And I will be joined by my mother, Tarawoner Kelly, life coach and founder of TYL Foundation. We're going to discuss some transformative topics and have some vulnerable conversations about life, love, and growth.
I need to call my mom.
Hey,
Hey, Mama.
how you doing?
Mama, I got something to tell you.
Hello, Keyaira.
Hey, Mama. Can we talk? You just never do that.
I do say that.
Mama, you will not believe what just happened today.
What happened?
All right, I love you.
I love you too.
The reason we wanted to start this space is because our mothers hold so much wisdom, and it's such a blessing to be able to talk to your mom and share experiences with someone from a totally different generation than you. I really wanted to have these conversations to exist as an invitation for all of you who are listening to have these discussions with the women in your life. Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of Talk to Your Mom. And we're on video. Right now I'm in New York and Mama is in Ohio. And yeah, we wanted to be able to come to you guys in a more intimate, close-up way. So welcome to the video edition of the podcast. And for those who are listening on audio, hey. So today we are going to be discussing what work looks like through the generations. And we're going to have 3 generations of women represented on this pod. My grandmother's voice, which you all will hear come in a little later. My mother's voice, Tarawoner Kelly. And then mine. And really, we're just going to discuss as Black women, what's the work that we did? What's the work we've done? What's the work that we dream of doing that we haven't had a chance to do? I always sit in the privilege of being my ancestors' wildest dreams. And Mama can attest to this. Education and getting an education was huge in our maternal bloodline. They said, our girls is going to be educated. So,
Absolutely.
but before we go forward into mine, let's go back into Mama. So, Mom, can you tell me, what was your first job like? What did you do?
Well, my first job was in the 70s. I was an intake counselor for dropouts and in school, and it was with the Board of Education. And so kids that didn't go to school, I would have to go and see them, or they would have to come to the office, and I would have to find out, what is it about school that you did not like? And why didn't you want to go to school? Because, you know, parents could get truancy from kids not going to school. The kids that were in school that were acting up really bad, I had to go to the school to see what the problem was. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. A lot of times when I sat in the classroom with the student, a lot of times I saw how the teacher, it's horrible, how the teacher went after the kids. And so, you know, kids.
So the teachers were antagonizing the children who were getting in trouble?
Well, let me just give you this one story real quick, because I got a lot of jobs. This one teacher, her name was Miss Harris, and Miss Harris kept mumbling, and I turned around and I said, I need to see what she's saying to her. And so I heard her say, you stupid, you ain't gonna get it, you're not gonna get it. And I raised back. And so the girl said, that's why your ASS stink. And I said, oh Lord. So she said, get her out of here, Miss Kelly, get her out of here. So I told her we had to leave out, but I also went to the superintendent and told him why she said what she said. So when you call the parents, you've got to also tell what the teacher did. Wow. Because it wasn't fair that the teacher was doing that. So that's when I had to start doing visual imageries with the kids to let them know that when they are off balance, that they have to try to take themselves to another place, whether it's a book or whether it's music, whether it's something they eat. You know, some people can't count to 10 and be all right. I can't count to 10 and be all right. So that was that. And I was a behavior modification teacher then.
Did you always want to be a children's advocate? Like, or did you just fall into that?
No, you know what? I think my grandmother used to tell me all the time. I said, why is it that every job I get, I'm always with females? And my grandmother said to me, God blessed you with 5 daughters to know how to navigate with other people's daughters in your life. Now, back then, I couldn't understand what she was talking about, but baby, for all my life, that's all I have ever done. All I wanted to do was encourage. Those are part of my gift of exhortation, part of my gifting. So let me fast forward, because all of them weren't happy. All of them weren't happy.
Well, the one you just described with watching the teachers antagonize the students, that is, and then it also, now I want to say God bless teachers, because teachers be up against a lot, but I think what I have witnessed, not being a parent yet, is that a lot of children get labeled bad when, like, children just, bottom line, are dysregulated people. Their brains aren't developed, so they're not really thinking and aware in the way that adults are. But a lot of adults will project things on them that make the child almost take in that negativity, and it's really unfortunate. Like, I'll always say, like, being a kid sucks. Like, I'm really glad I don't have to redo childhood.
Well, you know what? Because and it's the times are so different, and the social media and all the stuff that they have to deal with, it's just almost heartbreaking for me. But when I was a behavior modification teacher, all the kids that were not, they labeled them bad kids, they would come to me. And then everybody would say, well, they don't never act up with Miss Kelly. That's because discipline and love goes hand in hand. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a Bible on my table, because that was my table, and I would pray over those children. And I had they said, well, I don't know, she always goes, she needs the classroom in there. The teachers would have to come out and teach them in my space, but they were good. I'm just telling you, they were good. I'm not saying that they were good in the classroom. I wasn't in the classroom all the time, but when they were back there with Mrs. Kelly loved them and disciplined them. Yeah. And I listened to them. That's important.
So this was after or before you were a parole officer?
That was after.
Okay, well then let's go back, because I want to talk about Mama's gun.
Okay, so when I was a parole officer with juvenile delinquents, we had to go to get concealed weapon, because at that point it was concealed weapon. So I had to go to the gun range, learn how to shoot the whole 9 yards, because I was around a lot of people that was kind of reckless. And so this was not funny. I was at this one boy's house that was going to Central State, and I went to pick him up to go to Central State. He was a good boy the whole 9 yards. All of a sudden, somebody knocked on the door real hard, like they was the police. Girl, they busted in the house. I said, Lord Jesus. And he said, I tell you what, his name was Donovan. He said, I tell you what, Donovan, I don't know who this B is right here, but I tell you what, you better give me them drugs. And I was looking at Donovan and saying, don't say who I am. Don't say I'm with the state. Don't say
Lord,
nothing.
Now, you have never told me this. Okay.
No, but I'm telling you now. And so I just kept saying, Lord, if I could just get to my purse, because we had an emergency buzzer in our purse. I said, because I need help. I didn't want him to grab my purse, because my piece was in my purse. Okay? My piece was in my purse.
Your piece was in your purse.
Oh, so hood, undercover gangster, baby. I love Jesus, but at that point, I would have set it off real fast.
I hear you.
So he kept on talking. He kept on talking, and I said, sir, can I please use the bathroom? And I told him I was on my period and I needed to change my pad.
Smooth as ice.
Smooth, baby, smooth. And I didn't know. It came out my mouth, and I took my purse.
That's the Holy Spirit.
Yes, and I pressed the button, and it seemed like it was forever, but it wasn't. Lance, who was my person that was with me as a parole officer, he got they knew where I was. Next thing I know, they ran up on that place, baby. The police was out there.
Wow. Thank you, Jesus. You have been in, so it's interesting talking about work, because this is when they say the price that your generations before you paved a smoother road for you. Because when I think about my writing career, I think my writing career has been tough. But then I've never been in the type of danger that you're speaking of. Now, I am a media girl, so I have unfortunately been in the presence of a lot of predatory men. So I'm not going to say that I haven't been in situations where I have felt harassed But I will say that it's never been guns. It's never been shoot 'em up. And it certainly ain't been the cotton fields like grandma, which we are going to actually cue to in a bit. But before we went into that, I just want to ask you, Mama, do you know what my first job was?
You was a paper girl.
I had a paper route, and you guys would help me with my paper route. I would take my bike around, and I would stuff all of them the night before. And I remember I used to go around to the neighborhood collecting tips, and you were supposed to send 50% of your tips back to the company. And I would just be like, "Ooh, I didn't get a lot of tips," but people would tip me a lot, and I would just pocket that cash. I was a hustler even back then. But
wait a minute, wait. Do you remember when me and your dad did a paper route?
Yeah.
Just to make sure we had what we needed to have for you all during the Christmas time?
You did. And that's what I wanted to get into, because I think, especially with our family, there's a lot that feels very bougie. You know, we are a very educated crew of girls, and we have had privileges beyond our imagination. But what people don't know is that we all worked as janitorial staff for corporate buildings in Cincinnati. I used to clean toilets. I used to clean off desks. And this was maybe when I was about, I want to say 14 or maybe 13. And I remember at the time I had never been in no big corporate building. And so we would go up in the corporate buildings, the whole family, like the freaking Robinsons. I said, y'all really did have enough babies for the plantation, didn't y'all? y'all had plantation workers. So anyway, we would all go together, and I would be cleaning off the desks of the corporate people, and I'd be looking at their pictures of their families, and I'd be just thinking, like, what kind of person has a big corporate job like this and a big desk like this? And so then when I did start working in corporate in New York City, I would always be so nice to the janitorial staff, because I think about my family being the people who were doing that cleaning. And Mama, you ran into some people who were racist while you were cleaning. Can you tell that story?
Oh my goodness. It was a big job because your dad owned his own little company, and we were at this big place downtown, and I'll never forget. And I used to always say, why come they don't throw their coffee and stuff in the trash? And why they leave their cups like that? And so it was this one man, he opened his door. He said, my trash is just like this. My trash is never taken out. I said, well, if you would unlock your door, somebody could clean up your space.
Yeah.
He said, is this all you do? Oh, your dad was back there. And you know how somebody say, oh, Lord. And I said, excuse me.
He probably thought y'all was about to lose the money and everything, because you was about to chew him out.
He froze. He didn't do nothing. He was watching me. And I told that man, I said, let me say this to you. What I'm doing now does not define who I am. But if you did not have me here, who would clean up your stuff? I have daughters that's in college. I have daughters that's getting ready to go to high school. I said, I don't do this because I want to. I do it because I sacrifice for my children. I said, so if you want it cleaned up, then make sure you have your door open. I said, but don't ever look at me as though I'm nothing. I said, when I left my other job as a behavior modification teacher, I came down here. So I have 2 jobs, sir. He looked at me. Yeah. Your dad was like fright. Because we was getting like $1,500 to clean this place. And that next day I came down, none of the cups, because I told him about how the coffee cups, none of the things was on the desk. I didn't even have to clean this thing. And he gave me a check for $500 and told me that I was the most impressive woman that he had ever met. And I wrote him a note. I said, never sleep on janitors. Yep. Never sleep on them.
That's why it's important too to chew people out sometimes too. You got to let people know who you are, and I always respect that about you, Mama, because you never let nobody get over on me. Like, you stand up for yourself and you defend yourself. Because I remember I went to USC and I had given Dad a USC dad hat, and he said when he would clean the office buildings, people would just think he just got the hat because USC is a big football school, not believing that he could have a daughter that went there. And so the gamut of my life goes from, adolescent janitorial staff with my dad to interviewing Hollywood stars like Tyler Perry, Oprah, Monique, Taraji P. Henson, Samuel L. Jackson. So my humility comes from what we all had to do to survive. And so even my lowest low, I still always feel privileged and blessed, because I've gotten to have the humble experience and the mountain experience. And honestly, a lot of times I find the best people are the ones in the valley. The people who are doing the service work, the blue collar workers, because that's where I come from. I come from blue collar work. I was raised by teachers and plumbers and janitors. And so I think it's just important to share that, because I think oftentimes people see on social media and they just, of course, they look at the USC degrees and they look at the things I've done professionally, contributing for L, but they don't actually see the foundation of what made me, which was real humility in Ohio. So now I'm just going to pass really quickly to an interview I did with my grandmother, Willa Mae, about her first work. And I was blown away to hear that her very first job was picking cotton in Mississippi. I'll let her take over.
When I was younger, I remember my mom and I used to work when I was down south. This is when I was in the south in Mississippi. We used to pick cotton.
You picked cotton with great-grandma?
Mama and I used to go to the field. They would pick us up in a pickup truck. This is years ago, baby.
In Mississippi?
In Mississippi. And I was young, and Mama and I would go to the field and pick cotton. And they would weigh the cotton on these scales, and they was paying people that wasn't paying them that much money, about $2.50 a hundred
for 100 pounds.
For 100 pounds of cotton, they would just give them $2.50.
How long would it take to pick 100 pounds of cotton?
Well, it take them almost a day to pick a cotton to fill the sack up, unless dew was on the cotton. If dew was on the cotton, that'd make the cotton heavy. And when they take it to the gin to weigh the cotton, then it weighs more. But it taken a while to pick 100 pounds of cotton, because they had these long sacks, and you had to fill these sacks up. And this was in Mississippi, and I was real young then at that age.
You remember how old you were picking cotton?
Oh, I was maybe in that around 7 or 8, or 8 or 9. I used to go to the field and pick cotton. And then Mama worked at these white people's house. She used to work at these people's house cleaning. And I would go with her. And at that time, we couldn't go to the front door. We had to go to the back door to go into her house to do her cleaning. We couldn't go in her front door.
Wow.
And there was a lot of prejudice down there in Mississippi. You know, they just like they didn't like black people. But at that time, back in them days, they had Ku Klux Klan, the Klansmen.
You would see them marching around?
Yeah, they be down. They go to the houses and stuff, and it was just a lot of killing.
And you would see them in their hoods?
Yeah, well, you could see them going to these people's houses and putting sometimes they would put a cross in front of their door and stuff.
And you would see that?
Yeah, you would see it. Yeah, you couldn't help but see it if you had your eyes. You could see it.
You right, Granny. If you had your eyes, you could see it. So do you remember picking cotton? Were you hot? I mean, this is Mississippi.
Yeah, the sun was shining. It was hot. Be sweating.
And were you exhausted, as tired as a 9-year-old?
Yeah.
Would you cry?
Was I crying? No. I was young. I didn't know no better. I just did what my mother had me to do.
Did you ever see Eliza get upset or cry about picking that cotton?
No, Mama was a strong Christian woman, and she knew God, and that taught her family to love the Lord and stuff like that. And we know it wasn't going to always be like that. We wouldn't always go through what we was going through then, what they were putting us through.
Seeing your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and knowing that I'm a writer, your granddaughter has a doctorate in nursing. You have another granddaughter who's in school right now, finishing her criminal psychology degree. You have another granddaughter who's a lawyer, and you're remembering at 9 years old picking cotton. How do you feel now seeing generations later the type of work we're doing?
Oh, I just feel so happy and grateful. I sit and look back over my life, and then I see these children, and I think about my husband, because he would have been proud of his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren. He would have been so proud. He would have been so proud. And he loved his family and everything. And we were right together until the Lord called him home.
That makes me emotional. I know he can see us in the spirit, but I wish I had known him.
Yes, he would have loved. He loved you all, baby, because he loved his children.
Well, thank you for everything you've done.
Yes.
For us to be who we are as women, as Black women in this world, because I know we couldn't have done it without you.
Yes, and then I taught your mom when she was little. She was little, and she would go to Sunday school, church, and everything. So she passing this on down to her children the way I taught her, and it come from me because she couldn't have did it if I didn't teach her.
That's right. That's right.
She couldn't do what she was doing if I didn't teach her when she was growing up.
It makes me cry because I get so angry that you guys had to pick cotton.
Oh, yeah, we went through a lot. Chop cotton and pick cotton.
It makes me so mad because, I mean, what would you have wanted to do if you weren't picking cotton? You know, what were the things you wanted to do as a 9-year-old instead of being in the fields?
I wanted to graduate from school, wanted to get an education. And a lot of people down there wanted to get an education, but they couldn't get no education. I always wanted to be a secretary sitting behind somebody's desk.
Yes, yes. You probably wanted to look sharp in a suit,
I wanted to be a secretary.
What'd you want to be a secretary for? You
wanted to typing in shorthand, and I wanted to do typing and shorthand, that kind of work.
Yeah.
But God blessed me to be a nurse. He put me in that field instead of that, and I love nursing. I love people because I was a people person, because I loved them.
Do you remember any of your patients?
Yes.
Was there a story that you have of saving a patient or working with a patient or?
Yes. I remember Burley Hopper. I remember Burley real well because Burley was always up under me, and I would take Burley to church and stuff and go pick her up and take her to church. And then I had another patient. She passed on, and she died in my arms. I was with her, and when the spirit left her body, she died in my arms.
Wow.
One of my patients did. I can't think of her name right now.
What did she pass from?
She was sick in the nursing home. She was an old lady in a nursing home. It just was time for her to go. It was time for the Lord to take her home.
And you were holding her, comforting her?
Yes.
And you felt her spirit leave her body?
Uh-huh. She was in my arms.
Grandmother, you are so sweet.
Yes, I just love people. I was a people person. I love people. And I did what I could for them. I said, because this could be my mother or my sister or my brother laying here. And I treated them like I want to be treated, and I always taught them, I said, you treat others, you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treat them the way you want it to be treated, because that could be you laying there, and somebody had to take care of you. I always taught them, my patients, to love people and to treat people like they wanted to be treated, whether they're black or white.
It's so good, Granny. Thank you. So, Mom, how did you feel listening to Grandma talk about work in Mississippi?
Well, it was. I had a sadness, but I also know that was their way of life. And when my grandmother, who passed at 102, she said she remembered putting my mother on her back, and taking her to the cotton fields. So when I look at my mother, even now, at the age she is now at 94, she still have a humbleness. When she saw her great-granddaughter get baptized, she looked out. And she said it reminded her when she got baptized in the Mississippi River. And I looked at her and I looked at that gleam in her eye because that's what she knew. And so they worked hard. They sacrificed a lot, but she always said that she wanted to have more for her children than she had for herself because she lived in such a racist time.
She did.
So a lot of times I look at her now and I see the pain that she sees in the world. Even as much as it was back then, she says to me, I'm looking into a world I'm unfamiliar with. I've never seen anything so harsh. And I've seen a lot. I didn't see them hung up in the trees. I didn't seen a lot. But now it feels like they're trying to take us back to something that I don't want my children or my grandchildren or my great-great-grandchildren to see. So
it's deep. And, you know, I think a lot of times, especially in this country, people try to bury the history of Black folks. And I tell them all the time, like, my grandmother was a child slave. That's just the truth. We're only 2 generations from picking cotton. And I think that's why we get so much hate and animosity, because they set up so many structures and barriers to keep us from ever being able to meet their children eye to eye, educationally, professionally. And in 2 generations, just talking about our maternal line, we went from cotton field to now me writing at one of the highest levels magazine-wise in the world, master's in communication management from USC. And just in 2 generations, we did that. And we get to marvel at that. And that's why a lot of times when I see what's happening in the world, people are like, oh, aren't you scared? You don't have any hope. You don't. And I say no, because when I talked to my grandmother, she was talking about seeing us lynched in trees and dragged and quartered and having to go through the back. It's until it gets like that for me, I still have a huge silver spoon in my mouth. Because I have living proof that things have been worse and my blood has never died. And so there's like an immortality that I have coming into this season and with everything that's going on politically, globally, because we've already lived through that. And I can feel, especially with my great grandmother, I can feel her wisdom that has been transferred through the tree. And so I'm proud to represent her in my education and in what I've done professionally. But I also know that the integrity that we have is rooted in the Lord, first and foremost, and is rooted in our love and care of people. Because even with the journalism work that I have done, it's about telling other people's stories. It's still about connecting to the heart of people and how can I amplify them and let them shine through the gift that God has given me. So I'm so grateful. I'm grateful that you and Dad and me and my sisters clean toilets. I don't think I'd be able to interview people the way I do if I hadn't. I think I would be too glossed over with the glitz and glam and Hollywood of it all to actually just meet people eye to eye, spirit to spirit. So I thank y'all. I really do.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and I don't take anything for granted. I look at, well, I was there when my grandmother passed. I was gleaning at her feet. Everything that she would say to me is just inside of me. I just will never forget it. And my grandmother, even as she got older, that wisdom that she had was just so unreal to me. And I'm going to just say a quick story. My grandmother was 100. And I took her to the bank. And they said, hi, Eliza. She said, well, hello. And then after she did all what she needed to do, she asked for $125 in ones. Like $125 in ones. And I looked over and I said, why do you want $125 in ones? She said, gal, Mississippi, gal. She said, grandma can't see too good what a 20 or 10 or 5 look like. They count me out my ones. Nobody will ever cheat me. And every cent I have after I get my change back, I put it in the change jar. That was wisdom.
It's wisdom.
And
1,
guess
2,
what?
3, 4, 5.
Yeah. And guess what? When one of my mentees became blind, I told her what my grandmother told me, so she wouldn't be cheated. See what I'm saying? It was full circle.
Yeah.
Didn't know that it was going to go full circle, but she became blind.
It's wisdom. It's wisdom for a time that you can't even predict. Did you know me and my sisters would be and become what we are professionally and educationally? Did you know?
Well, you know what? Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. You ask good questions.
Oh, thanks.
When,
Toss them back.
when you all were little, I would watch you all and see what was so ingrained in your spirit, because in the Bible it says before you were formed in your mother's womb, you knew him. So I watched little things that you did. So I saw one of them I always talked about criminals and helping the mind and so and so. Look at your sister now. She's in school for forensic psychology, right? I watched Courtney. She was going to do everything with animals. She said she was going to be the best veterinarian she could ever be. She was going to save all the animals.
She did.
She became
a doctor,
a nurse first,
yeah.
Then a nurse practitioner. Then she got her doctorate in NP. And then you, Lord have mercy, girl, from the time you could open your mouth, you was talking and singing and grinning. And you always wanted to write. You always said, I want to read, I want to read, I want to write, I want to write. That's all you talked about. And even when you went to school, you taught Milana and Tatiana as though you was the school teacher.
My niece and my little sister, yeah.
Yes, you did. So I always knew that was going to be a part of what you were. And I kept every poem, everything you wrote. I remember you writing little manuscripts, everything. So I knew you were going to be a writer. I had no doubt.
That's true. Go ahead.
And then the last daughter, she told us when she was little, she was going to be the first Black Supreme Court judge.
She did.
I didn't know which way she was going to go, but baby, she went all the way from getting her degree and getting her master's and then going back to school and getting her law. And what did she do, Keyaira? Yeah. She passed the bar the first time. In New York State. So all these things were a part of what I watched.
And I also want to shout out Keisha, Jack of many trades, because I remember when I was younger, there was nobody who could do hair like Keisha. There was nobody who could dress like Keisha. Keisha could dance. I think I remember seeing her from her dance recitals and all of that. So Keisha also had artistic and handiwork. She used to crochet these beautiful tapestries, still does to this day. But I appreciate what you are saying, because you really let us grow in our gifts and what we were going to be, where a lot of times when I talk to other women, they'll say, well, my mom wanted me to be this, and because I didn't follow her, I lost my relationship with her. And I will just say, I will always bow to you, Mom, for cultivating that gift, because deciding to be a writer, you know, people ask me all the time, like, what did you want to be? And I was like, well, I came here before I was formed in my mother's womb. I knew that I was here to be a writer. And there's plus sides to that, because I've always been plan A. No distractions. I am in love with my art. But the other side of it is when you come in knowing what you're supposed to be, there are all these forces that come to try to get you to not do your path. So I just want everyone to know, in case you ever feel envy, because like this person's in their purpose and you're jealous, just know there's another darker side to knowing what you're supposed to do and then having to combat. Everyone who told me you're a writer, you're going to just be poor. Everyone who told me you're a writer, you'll never be anything. Everyone who told me, oh, you better end up doing a business degree so that you can actually have a future and a hope. And the thing that people don't understand about me with writing is I have to do it. So there's no outside circumstance, rich or poor, out or in, AI or human, that's going to stop me from continuing to do this. My purpose is not dependent on anything that has to do with the outside world. It's not. But that was a trial through fire, because I've been laid off 5 times. I want to talk about that, especially because a lot of people are getting laid off or feeling work insecurity. People look at my professional life and they're like, oh, it must have been just a straight. No, I went to work in marketing because I was so afraid of not making money as a writer. And so I was working in marketing, and I struggled through those marketing jobs. I'm grateful that I had them, because I was able to, it helped me form my business acumen so that as an entrepreneur, I could move in it. But I really struggled in marketing and super businessy roles. And so I was always getting laid off. So I just want to share those things, because I think people project a lot of perfection on my path, and there's been so much suffering. There's been so much suffering, and I think whenever people think about a purpose walk or a purpose thing, they just want to think about joy and comfort and, oh, it's just going to be easy and I'll be so no. Actually, purpose and pursuing purpose is, in my opinion, one of the hardest things you can do. It's harder for me than my 9-to-5s were. But I will say is the fruit of pursuing purpose is I do have a spiritual peace. It's not a peace that the job market can give me. It's not a peace my parents can give me. It's not a peace my friends can give me. I have peace because I communicate with my Father God, who is telling me you have a gold star in my book because you are finishing the course, no matter how much money you make, no matter where, if you sleeping on a couch or not, you are committed to this walk. So daughter, I love you. And that's what keeps me peaceful and joyful. It don't got nothing to do with who I write for, who my clients are, because those change too much. You can't be dependent on those things. So that's why I'm just so grateful to talk to you, Mama, about work, because I just see how every step of the way, the sacrifices you made, the sacrifices Grandma made, the sacrifices Great-Grandma made, how it's given me the power and privilege to be hosting a podcast with you today.
Oh, I think it's so great. And for the mothers out there, I just want you to know that whatever God has planted inside of you, and you know it to be true, and it's always been a yearning for you, it is still there. It is still there through me having all my children, me not working, going back to work, coming back in, the whole 9 yards. But everything that I am doing now is in my purpose.
Hallelujah.
And it's my purpose. And you know what? When you are doing what you are supposed to do, you get joy from it. It doesn't mean people can call me, because I'm a family life educator too, and I have my life coach certification. So when people call me, I'm not always on cue with myself, but because it's my purpose, because God has given it to me, these things that come out of my spirit to make a difference in somebody else's life. Sometimes I get off the phone and say, well, where did that come from? Okay, Holy Spirit, you didn't build them up. What about me?
Yep. And that's the thing, is because you're getting your supply from a supernatural source. It's coming from God the Father. It's not coming from anything human. But I think people also have to realize, like, that relationship that we have with God is forged through intimate communion with him constantly. I mean, we are pretty much always in prayer, always in the Word, always in the Bible. And people may not know, but it's like what I spend 99% of my time doing is in my Word, researching for an article, interviewing people, walking my dog, and resting when I can. That is my life. And I am at peace in that. And that is my portion for this season, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm just so excited, like, looking to the future, because I have no idea who my kids are going to be, but I feel happy that they'll have an example of art, like pursuing art and writing full time. It was a path that I had to pave, really just with the Lord. And so I am grateful, not just for my children, but also for my sisters and generations after, to be able to show them, like, this is what it looks like to be a Black woman who's really in love with her art and her penmanship and her creativity, because I just know that I wouldn't have been able to do that if y'all wasn't in the fields.
You know what? I just want to say this about you. I have watched you from in my womb to now, and I am still in awe of what God gives you. Your writing is exquisite. It's magnificent. It is amazing. When I sit and read it, I be saying, but then I look at you and you're humble. It's not like you're way up in the sky. And I have had other people that reach the pinnacle of where they want to be, and then other people become underlings. Like their life is not important. I never want to be so high up that I cannot reach down and take another woman by her hand and show her the way up.
Amen.
Because that's what's living.
That's the point. So I'm going to have my kids scrubbing toilets, even if they ain't got to. I'm going to have to put them in the fields picking cotton, even if they don't have Because I don't know how they going to stay humble. It's getting too bougie over here.
No, they're gonna stay humble because you're gonna have them doing chores around the house.
Yeah.
You're gonna, and they're gonna have a good work ethic. They're gonna work. You're gonna
They
do all
better.
the things. They are, because you're not gonna have it no other kind of way.
Ain't no other
Because
way.
if you don't do that, then you can't expect an outcome. Now, one thing that you have to remember: once you anchor them in, you have to cut the cord.
Yeah, it's their life.
gonna-
It's their life. I'm just stewarding them for the Lord. They don't belong to me. They belong to the
A lot
Lord.
of people don't want to let go. A lot
They
of people
don't.
don't want to let go. They want to hold on.
Let them
Hey,
know, Mama. It's your children's life is not your life. Don't go projecting
not.
your dreams, fantasies, things you didn't fulfill on your children. Go out and do it yourself. Because I'll also say about you, Mama, for you to be in your age and still being brave and putting yourself out there, there is so much wisdom in you. And I'm just so grateful that you're navigating the technology, the audio, the video, to speak, because you're such a good representation to women about what their silver years should look like. And I'll end on just thinking about Maya Angelou. She always said that her 80s was her favorite time. And so I'm just like, woo, Mama, you don't even know what's coming for you. So thank you for your the generations of work. And I continue to carry the torch. So y'all, I want you to go out, have this conversation with your moms and the women in your life. Find out what they did for a living. What are the career and vocational work that is in your bloodline? You might even find yourself seeing that there are things that have been reflected generationally. Like my grandma was a nurse. We have a sister who's a nurse. Because sometimes just finding out the work that you all did to survive, it gives you the authority to move forward in dominion, because you already know that someone in your bloodline has already conquered something bigger and badder than you. So thanks, y'all, for listening to Talk to Your Mom, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in to this episode of Talk to Your Mom. And we want to hear from y'all. We hope that you go out there and have these conversations with your mother. And make sure you talk back to us. You can follow us on Talk to Mom Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Until next time, so long.